Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. It is Tuesday, May 17th, 2022, at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time and invite you to stand, if you will, and want to join us tonight in an invocation led by Pastor Kevin Scott from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and immediately following that, I will conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Scott?
Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you, Lord, for another day of life. I want to thank you for the beautiful spring day you gave us. I want to thank you, Lord, for this Oak Harbor meeting that we can be at. Lord, I pray for all the participants. Give them wisdom tonight. Lord, as they deal with, as they are trying to lead in very troublesome times, Lord, and I just pray for wisdom in their decision making, and that they will be thinking, Lord, to the good of the whole community as they make these decisions. We thank you for the wisdom you provide, and we thank you for this opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So again, good evening. This evening's meeting will be both a physical meeting location and a virtual meeting per Washington Proclamation 20-28. Today's meeting may be viewed live via YouTube and on Channel 10 HD 1090. City staff are participating both in person here this evening and via teleconference. Any guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused from the Ring Central meeting at the conclusion of the agenda item as appropriate. So at this time, I'd like to turn to our city clerk and ask for a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Present.
Councilmember Heisen.
Present.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Here.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Present.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Present.
Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
Mayor, all members of council are present.
Thank you, Clerk Julie. We will then move to our first item, I believe, which is our approval of the agenda. And unless I hear any suggested changes, the agenda will be approved as presented. So we'll move forward with the agenda as presented. Immediately then to our section number 2, which is presentations and honors. And under A, we have a proclamation this evening. Mayor Pro Tem is approaching the podium, and the proclamation is for Public Works Week. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our new Public Works Director, if you didn't know, and this is an honor for me, being 14 years, almost 15 now on council, and I have seen a lot through the department, and we are so happy that you are here, Mr. Shirley. Ready and resilient. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being Oak Harbor. Whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of the Public Works professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our communities' transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings and properties, which are essential for our citizens. Whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Oak Harbor to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works professionals and programs. Whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Robert Severns and the councilmen of Oak Harbor, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th to 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens, organizations, and government agencies to join in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the sustained contribution they make protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Signed this 17th day of May by Mayor Bob Severns. And I'd like to present this to you.
Great, thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem.
Do you want to say just a minute?
Yeah, just in my 6 weeks here, I can personally speak now that you have a number of staff who show up and their greatest desire is to do the best job they can with the resources we have and all the level of services we need to provide. And I know this means a lot for the Mayor Pro Tem and the mayor and the other elected council members to take this moment and really recognize their service. Because really, if we really do a good job in public works, you won't even know we're here. You know what I mean? You'll just turn on your water, it's magic, your solid waste disappears. So if we really do a good job, you'll forget about us and not even know that we're doing it. That's kind of the goal that we kind of strive toward in a kind of a funny way. But we know that you won't, and this means a lot. So thank you very much.
Nice job, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Schuler, for your 6 weeks and many years to come. Thank you. We'll then move on to Section 3 of the agenda, citizen comment period. This is the time where citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. Citizens may also comment on corresponding agenda items. There are many ways to contact us, all of which are posted here, as you can see before us. Citizens can also visit our website for methods to submit public comment or contact the city clerk, Julie Lindsay, by phone or email, as noted here. We received several comments from the public since our last regular meeting, which were forwarded to City Council and will be displayed now. And then we'll turn to the public in a few minutes for anybody who's either signed up or here and would like to speak. So for now, we've got our citizen comments being displayed. Okay, thank you. I will turn now to Clerk Julie to see if we have anybody signed in to speak.
Yes, Mayor, we do. The first on our list is Cynthia Mason.
Cynthia?
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. My name is Cynthia Mason, Old Paulnell Road, Oak Harbor, Washington. I've been a board president of the Music Festival for 9 years. 7 of those president, I was appointed 2019 at the Art Commission. I'm a small business owner with my husband. I work full-time in town for Edward Jones. And my newest role, I raised my hand to be president of the Oak Harbor Creative Arts Foundation with some really big initiatives that I hope to do a more complete presentation to you in the future. The 2 initiatives there are a makerspace and to build a performing arts center. As you see from my volunteer work, I'm passionate about the arts, recognizing that public art adds enormous value to culture, aesthetic, and economic vitality of Oak Harbor and the island as a whole. And I know you guys have seen reports from the state and the island, the Dean Runyon speaks volumes to the dollars. This is accomplished by fostering an image and idea of community, an image that we as a community welcome and include all our residents and intend to foster a sense of belonging together for everyone. Remembering that in a fully integrated community where variety, diversity are celebrated and integrated, we can begin to heal broken systems. Art can and does do that. Even those who hold a neutral opinion about art understands how it can connect people, build bonds, and bridge diversity. Oak Harbor, the gateway to Whidbey Island, should celebrate and encourage our own artistic community. Central and South Whidbey is not the only area where artists and art lovers reside. As for this particular piece of art being challenged, we should be able to see the high honor and value in owning a piece from a world-renowned artist such as Sebastian. The recommendation of this gift comes from one of Oak Harbor's arts expert, Richard Nash, Sculpture Northwest, and with full support of the Arts Commission. I personally hold Richard in high regards, and if he sees this installation as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, with that alone, I say yes in supporting his vision. I see opportunity abound, and I have an assistant, because I couldn't do all this in 3 minutes. Like fellow Arts Commissioner Russell mentioned at a previous meeting, at the very least, an event celebrating all creativity in beautiful Windjammer Park. How wonderful would that be? I read recently a poignant points about art that I'd like to share with you. Art defines physical space. Art reflects community values. Art can start dialogue. Art brings people together. Art creates a sense of belonging. Art activities help improve social well-being. It helps neighborhoods with beautification, and art reveals truth. This gift was and continues to be used as a political platform of our newer council members, and on social media and in the press, a dividing rod of this community. Please stop it. It's art. In the company of all the other wonderful locations across the globe, as I tried to point out in this fictitious poster that I just passed out to you, we should be proud as Oak Harborites to be the home of a Sebastian and the positive opportunities it brings. Art is not just murals, music, windmills, bronze statues, or whales. It is not a this or that. We can have it all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. You know, it's harder to be up there and speak than it is to sit back here, believe me. Nice job, thank you.
Don Cecil is next, Mayor.
Okay.
Again, I'm Don Cecil. I'm a retired college English instructor. I've lived in Oak Harbor for 10 years. And I'm telling you, when I first got here, I said that this town has a lot of potential. And I can't tell you how, I've been thinking about this the last Windjammer Park. I know You people see it differently when it comes to cost overruns and all the fights that you had to deal with. I remember those. I'm one of those people who lurk in the background. You don't know me, I know you, as it were. I'm sorry. So this is my first appearance before you. But Windjammer Park is an absolute treasure. And the sewage plant that's next to it. Do you think there's a better looking one anywhere in the United States? A friend of mine said when you write your letter, maybe you shouldn't say in the United States and the world. I can't quite vouch for that, but we are really, this is an extraordinary thing, what Oak Harbor has managed to do. And when you look around town on the streets, out at the high school, Windjammer Park, you see such a variety of sculpture. This is traditional and contemporary as well. And I want to agree with you. We could have it all. And I don't see why not. I realize some people think that this town should be more of a theme town. That's not possible for Oak Harbor now. We're not going to be Leavenworth or what's the one up Highway 20, starts with a W, that town, the western town. We are well on our way to being a lot more than probably what this town was 30 or 40 years ago. And I'm very proud to live here. I thought, well, maybe when I first got here, do I want to live in Coopville? Maybe I'll go down to Langley because there's a charming town for you. But I've fallen in love with Oak Harbor and the changes. And I think something like the Angel of Creativity, which is not everyone's cup of tea, but then, as I said in the letter that flipped by there at the speed of light, Eiffel Tower, I was surprised when I learned that the Parisians didn't want it. They didn't want the pyramid in front of the Louvre either. Just try taking those icons away from those cities right now and see what happens. Picasso in Chicago, or you remember the Vietnam Memorial, some of you who are old enough, when that contest came up and I was selected, it was so depressing, they thought. Well, that's the most visited memorial in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm thinking that something like the Angel of Creativity, which we could be one of those 200 cities that have sculptures by Sebastian. And as I was reminded when I walked in, some of the cities that have large sculptures, I mean, they're huge. No one's going to agree on everything in this town, but there's plenty of room at the park. And I think the park is a good location because that sculpture can really breathe there. But this is an outstanding piece. Sebastian he does magnificent work. He's not on trial. What I hear from some people in Oak Harbor is that, his work doesn't fit in with our city. But I think it does. There are a lot of people like me who lurk in the background that didn't hear about that survey or who have failed, I'll put the onus on me, who have failed to communicate with you that we have another opinion on this. We have a really fine opportunity with a world-class, stellar artist to get a piece of his work. There are coffee books this thick that are on people's tables all over the world of his work. This will become a tourist attraction for a certain segment of the population. We will be known because of it. And it needs a place like Windjammer Park because it can really soar and breathe. And believe me, in that magnificent park, there's plenty of room left over. By the way, just for the record, I love windmills. Bring them on. Thank you.
Mayor, Mr. Hal Hovey wishes to speak on 2 items.
Good evening, Mayor Severns, members of the City Council. I'm kind of out of practice at this. It's been a couple years since I've been up here, but I used to be here like every month. I am here today to support arts, culture, and tourism in our community. We have a bunch of great and dedicated people on our Arts Commission who are working tirelessly to bring high-quality artwork and events to the city, and I believe they are doing an amazing job. I fully support their efforts and would hope that the City Council support them as well. We need to go forward with the installation of the Angel de la Creatividad sculpture in Windjammer Park. I know there's been a lot of criticism about it. I live on Bayshore Drive. My condo looks out to the park. I'll be able to see it from my balcony. I think it'll be a fantastic contribution to Windjammer Park. There's been a lot of compromises already been done. The survey that was done back when they were talking about putting the statue right in the middle of one of the big green fields. You know, it's been moved, it's going to be a different color. There's a lot of changes that have been made to support its installation there. The only thing that's 37 feet tall right now in Windjammer Park is what Mr. Allenberg used to call the Poop Palace. It would be nice to have something else that soars over the park, that inspires and makes people think and brings people to that park. So please, I hope that you choose to keep it there and go forward with this project. Thank you for your time. I'm going to talk on the other issue when we get to the comp plan.
Thank you. Okay.
Mayor, next on our list is Mr. Larry Mason.
Mr. Mason.
My name is Larry Mason, and I'm here representing the Oak Harbor Music Festival. And this is our 10th year on Pioneer Way in downtown Oak Harbor. 2022 festival is a go, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We're very proud to be members of this community, and very excited to announce that this year, our first annual summer concert series is going to be in Windjammer Park. It's going to be the first 4 Wednesdays in August prior to our festival, so August 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th. 6 p.m. to 7:30, a free concert. It'll be at the pavilion where the bands will be set up, and maybe everybody won't like the bands that I select this year, but maybe you really will, and hope you guys can come out. And I moved to Oak Harbor in 1958. Went to school here. I've lived here most of my life, if not all of my life, and 100% of my support is behind Sculpture Northwest.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes those who signed up to speak this evening.
Okay. Certainly you can. Don't even have to be on the list. Please state your name and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
That might be a challenge. I do talk often. My name is Marie. I am an Islander at heart. I'm also connected as a niece to Cynthia and Larry Mason. But that's not why I stand here. I will come to you first and foremost as a rider, an Islander, and a flight attendant. I was most impressed by Mr. Cecil, correct? Your note? Yes. I was in Paris last month, and I've been to incredible cities that have art. That's it. It's not my opinion whether or not the angel, though it does have my full support, is pretty or ugly. It's neither here nor there. It's art. If you've ever been to Brussels, and I was debating on whether or not to share this, but if you're in Brussels, there is a little boy urinating. That's what Brussels is known for, or a bit. You know, you go in, you enjoy a waffle, and you have a small little boy. Some people gather around the fountain and laugh, and others kind of walk by it, not acknowledging it at all. But that's the beauty, not just of this particular sculpture, but of art. Picasso may not be everyone's cup of tea. That is the beauty of art. It invites everyone to the table to see it with their own eyes, to Google, to say, wow, well, that's it. And as a writer, you can invite me to read Shakespeare and try to read a sonnet in iambic pentameter, and I will fail. And I've tried many times over the course of many years to read a sonnet in that tempo. And if you were to invite me to read Hamlet again for the umpteenth time, I might exhale and say, I really don't want to read Shakespeare. It's not my favorite. And I pride myself on being a writer. And I would still take that invitation and an opportunity to say, maybe my taste has changed. Maybe Shakespeare will address something. Or or spark something in me, a love, a joy. I've not found it yet, but I will still read Shakespeare in hopes that one day it will happen. And I think as Oak Harbor is presented with an incredible invitation to accept this gorgeous sculpture, that's a personal opinion, but in a matter that invites everyone, a sculpture. It provides, and you all have this power and an incredible opportunity to say yes to art, to show that residents, visitors to Oak Harbor, future residents, will know that Oak Harbor values what people can create with their own two hands and a little bit of imagination. And this sculpture is, where is the sculpture right now? Seattle? Bellingham. So close. Yeah, so I invite you all to take this opportunity to say yes to the angel.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you very much. Wow, that's a different, yeah. So is there anyone else that would, that's a hard act to follow, but.
I set the bar high. Anybody?
Okay, seeing no others, we thank you very much for those comments. And that will conclude then our citizen comment period. We'll move on to the consent agenda, item number 4. Staff has presented the listed items, all of which were included in the meeting packet. Are there any changes, objections, or questions about those? Seeing none, they will be approved as presented. Okay, we'll move then to the mayor's comments. Public Works, in addition to this being Public Works Week, I want to thank our crews for their quick response and repair of a water main break in the line that brings our water from Fidalgo Island. That just happened since our last meeting. I know our crews were out there for the entire night working, and they repaired that. So my hat always goes off to that kind of thing. And you didn't know it happened. The water still turned on when you turned the faucet on, but thanks for a lot of hard work to make sure that those repairs happen and we keep that service. It's also National Police Week this week, established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962. National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. We are greatly appreciative of the fine work done by the Oak Harbor Police Department to keep our citizens safe.
Mayor, Chief Dresker has requested to speak regarding Police Week.
Great. Chief, are you with us here this evening? I know I saw you on the camera earlier.
I am, Mayor. If you can hear me okay, I apologize for not being there in person. I should have been, and that's my error, and I will correct that. But I will also be making a presentation the first council meeting in June, showing our annual report to council and also talking about the department. And I just briefly, I'll make it real short. I want to honor the fine men and women we have working for the Oak Harbor Police Department. They're professional and very committed to the community. We're trying to do little things all week long to recognize the job they do. I purchased some pizza for them today, and we're going to be doing something each day. And then we also are saying goodbye to the person in back of me on my screen, you see, which is Captain Bill Wilkie, retiring at the end of this month. And we'll be promoting Sergeant Tony Slowick to captain. And so those ceremonies will be taking place. And Captain Wilkie is 32 years, I think it is, with Oak Harbor PD, and has performed exceptionally for us. We'll be sad to see him go, but be happy to see Tony have that shot. And again, thank you to the community for the support that they provide us, and we very much value working there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I, too, would like to congratulate Police Captain Bill Wilkie for his 32 years and wish him a safe retirement. Thank you, Bill, for your dedication and service to our community. And also congratulate Sergeant Tony Slowick. He'll be promoted to captain in a pinning ceremony on Wednesday, June 1st at 4 p.m. at the police department. So congratulations, Sergeant Slowick, soon to be captain. Filing.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, if I could just mention, I failed to mention Captain Wilkie, we're going to have a little going away thing for him next Friday. I think council and all city employees have received that, so I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. So filing week, filing for upcoming county and state public office positions is this week and closes May 20th. For filing information, go to the Island County website or Washington Secretary of State's website. Llama, our new land management software program, went online on May 9th. This new system integrates planning, says zooming, I don't know whether that's zoning, right? Zoning, building, and engineering reviews, and will head at oakharbor.org/fire levy, or you can complete the online feedback form via www.surveymonkey.com, fire levy feedback. The opportunity to provide feedback ends on Friday, May 27th. Printed versions are available at City Hall, our center, and the Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce. And then approximately this last Thursday, approximately 30,000 salmon were released from the Oak Harbor Marina. This was an exciting cooperative project with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife and involved community volunteers and our Marina staff. The event was covered by local news and by King 5 television news from Seattle. There is a special workshop meeting with action on June 1st. Staff is proposing to hold a special council workshop. That's a Wednesday at 2 p.m. The purpose of the special workshop is to provide council with the most up-to-date information regarding projected costs and community outreach results regarding the fire department levy proposal for the November 2022 ballot. The deadline for submitting a ballot item is August 2nd, 2022. The special workshop will be noticed as having this as an action item. Staff will be asking for council action to provide direction on whether or not to move forward to place the levy proposal on the ballot. Staff is requesting council provide this direction at this date to allow time for preparation and review of ballot measure materials in advance of the August 2nd deadline. The city clerk has received 4 responses in her poll of the council for their availability, all of which were positive. So I guess we've heard from 4, and hopefully we'll get the rest. I'll turn now to council for your any comments. This is time for council comments. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to encourage, especially the new council members, to attend the AWC conference the 21st through 24th in Vancouver. I think you will get a lot out of it, and there are some extra activities if you want to take your families with you. But it's amazing. We think we get blinders on here that it only happens to us in our city. But when you go and you meet others from other sides of the city, some smaller, some bigger, and go, wow, it's happening there too. Or, darn, we got a really good idea. I'm going to share it with them. So I really encourage it. It breaks you out. Sometimes we just sit here and we put blinders on, and I would really encourage you, and they have great classes, to please go. And it's a beautiful city if you've never been there.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I believe there's even some expense money in the budget for those that are interested. So I would also encourage that. It's something, it's an opportunity to learn, believe me. I think Mayor Pro Tem makes an interesting point that when you speak with other cities, you'll soon find out that there are challenges and/or opportunities and just things that happen that just tie into what we deal with at this job. So I would encourage you to go also. Other council comments? Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, sitting up here, one of the things that we ask meeting after meeting is that the public will show up, give us public comment, use the online tools and give us comment that way. So to look out and see the back row full, to see 11 people in here, what a wonderful thing. Makes me so happy to see the other public comments, that came in through the internet. That is such a great thing to see, and it is now easier than ever to give us public comments. So I just want to thank everybody for that. As far as using the angel of creativity for a lightning rod, or a dividing rod, I don't feel that that's the case with anybody on council. Recently ran a campaign. That election happened. But throughout that whole process, I knocked on 7,300 doors. Repeatedly, at almost every house, I was asked, do not let the sculpture go at City Beach. One of the public comments that came in said there can be compromise. There can be compromise, and there should be compromise. Just because I can't support the Angel of Creativity at City Beach at Windjammer doesn't mean that there's not another location for it. I go back to last December when I met with Richard Nash. I told Richard at the time, and I meant this then and I still mean it. I said, Richard, I hope I'm not the swing vote that you need. But if I am, come to the table. There's 11 people here in person that support the sculpture tonight, and I think that's such a wonderful thing. Sitting through the one of our recent meetings, I think there was 5 or 6 council members that stated they would prefer it to go somewhere else. Some council members that didn't run an election recently said that they felt the council moving forward, in spite of the opposition, was a violation of public trust. I too feel that that's the case, and for me, I'm not going to violate that public trust further and support it going at Windjammer. But there has to be other options. And maybe I'm not the swing vote that's needed, but I'm trying to be as open and transparent about it as possible. And, as the paper recently reported, and I'll say it again, this is about figuring out a way to get to yes. That said, we can't allow the past to further fracture the public trust. The reason that I got involved in politics here, the reason I ran for the Oak Harbor City Council, is because the public wasn't being heard. That's also why I overwhelmingly won. And we're not going to double down on not hearing the public. But let's please figure out a way to get to yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffmeyer. Anybody else here for council comments? Anybody? Okay. Seeing none, thank you for that. We will then go to item number...
Mayor,
Yes.
were you going to go to the vote for the special meeting?
Oh. So we have received 4 responses that are yays.
Thank you, Tim. And 2 other yays just now during the meeting, Mayor. And
So we have-
and 3. So now we are unanimous.
Now we are unanimous, so yes. I think that we don't need to vote any further than that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Osborne, for reminding me. We're now at item number 6 on our agenda, which is public hearings and meetings. Item 6A is ordinance number 1946, updated comprehensive plan and capital improvement plan amendments, continued from March 15, 2022. And I believe we have our principal planner, Kak Kamak, this evening. Kak?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is Kak Kamak, with the Development Services Department. I hope you can hear me. I have a really short presentation. As the mayor mentioned, this is a item that was for a public hearing in March, and we've continued it till now. So I have a really short presentation. I have the spreadsheets for the capital improvements plan on slides. If the council wants to discuss anything, I can bring those slides up for reference. So I do have them just in case we need them. So I'll just go through a short presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Hope you can see that. So as mentioned, this is the 2021 comprehensive plan amendments. We're a little late in the year considering these amendments. We're trying to get it wrapped up. The schedule for this was the amendments went to Planning Commission on February 22nd, and they forwarded a recommendation to the City Council. The City Council had a chance to discuss it at the February 23rd workshop. We opened the public hearing at the March 1st meeting, and then continued it to March 15th, and also then continued it to March 17th. Excuse me. In the meantime, also in other meetings and other workshops, there have been items related to the capital improvements plan that have been discussed. So the latest document that is in your packet that is up for action tonight has these 3 changes since the March 15th meeting. The changes are related to the Parks Fund, and that's related to Harbor Heights. And the Harbor Heights amount has been changed, and I think there were some discussions on that based on switching the grant strategy, and so the amounts have been increased. So that is one of the changes. The City Council had asked for the more immediate schedule for the sewer lines, and that has been updated in the wastewater fund. And the fire station has been added to the general government fund. So these are the 3 changes that have been made since the March 15th meeting. The recommended action steps for tonight is, of course, for the City Council to discuss the capital improvements plan and the projects within it and finalize them, and then conduct the public hearing on the amendments, close the public hearing, and take action. The recommended action tonight is to move the ordinance forward and adopt the amendments and the capital improvements plan. Again, we're a little late. This is 2021. The capital improvements plan and the comprehensive plan amendments are a continuous dialogue in the city. We've already started the discussion on the 2022 comprehensive plan amendments with the Planning Commission. We'll be coming to the City Council in workshops to talk about that. So you can see how the conversation is really fluid on some of these topics. It'd be good to get the 2021 amendments out of the way and start getting into the 2022 amendments. So with that, I'll turn it back to the council for questions, discussions, comments. Thank you.
Thank you, CAC. I would like to now open the public hearing at this time and turn to our city clerk and see if there's been any comment received from the public.
Thank you. No, Mayor, we've received no public comment on this
Okay,
item.
Okay, and we have, yes, we have a member of our audience, so let's turn to Mr. Hovey.
Hello again, Mayor Severns and members of the City Council. I'm Hal Hovey. I'm a resident of Oak Harbor. I live on Bayshore Drive next to Windjammer Park. As many of you know, I used to be on the Planning Commission, and I'm disappointed to see that yet again the Northeast 7th Street project has been moved right. That's a project that has been in the works for over 15 years. And I remember the first time it was on the agenda for the city, it had a projected finish date of, I think, 2011. And when I left the Planning Commission, I believe we had a finished project date of 2023 on it, and now it's moved further right. In my opinion, that needs to be the city's #1 priority. It keeps getting deferred. The safety issues are not getting better. They're going to get worse. There's more housing going on in that direction, and if in fact we go forward with the Harbor Heights project, there's going to be more traffic going in that direction. So I believe that something needs to be done. I realize the funding sources for the Harbor Heights project are different than what they would be for the Northeast 7th project. But you know, there's 11 different projects on page 394 of tonight's packet under streets. The Harbor Heights is 10 million of that. The Northeast 7th is 4 million of that, with the bulk of it being spent out in 2024. You know, the Public Works only has so much bandwidth. We have learned with the sewer plant and other projects that there's only so much the engineers can work on. So even though the funding sources may be different for the projects, it still takes Public Works people, it still takes engineers to work on the Harbor Heights project. So we may not be taking money directly away from Northeast 7th, but we're taking bandwidth away. And I really think we need to reconsider where we're spending our bandwidth and put it on the things that are really high priorities. Mr. Hoffmeyer mentioned earlier tonight regarding a different subject that the public wasn't being heard. I was on the Planning Commission when we did the transportation study. We had great public outreach. We had great public response. The public was absolutely heads and tails above anything else voting for having Northeast 7th fixed over anything else, over any other project. Are we being heard? I don't know. Where is the hue and cry for a Harbor Heights road? I don't know. I know that there's some people who want a nice big park up there, but if it's taking away city bandwidth, if it's taking away staff time from getting Northeast 7th done, if it's even taking away time from our grant writer writing grants to get the grants to pay for this thing, let's refocus our priorities. You know, I mentioned before, and I've heard Tara say it many times, you know, your budget establishes your priorities, right? Whatever your budget reflects is what you're setting as your priorities. And if we're not budgeting for this thing until 2024, but we're budgeting for something else, a park, you know, years earlier, where's our priorities? It's not the safety of our you know, residents, I don't think. So I appreciate your time. Thank you again very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hovey. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at this time and turn to council. So, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
I think when it comes to Northeast 7th, Hal is 100% correct on this. You know, it's if not my top priority, and I know that other councilors feel this way as well. You know, I think that there was previously some things that happened that moved it back a little. I feel at this point, though, staff's direction is full speed ahead on that, and I don't know if the city administrator or the public works director is able to speak on that at all.
I believe the council in past has made that the top priority, and talking to people outside the community and other people who have interest on that, it's been the top priority. It's funded through the IRTPO. We are working through the process there. There was some issue with the roundabout that might have held it back, but I think we're moving ahead with that issue. So unless the Public Works or Alex Warner, is our city engineer, is very familiar with and very involved in that project, and certainly can speak to it too as being a major priority. It's a matter of where the funding's programmed, and so certainly we're on target for staying on that program. And Alex, you're our city engineer, you're welcome to kind of add to my comments.
Sure, thanks, Blaine. And Mayor, council members, just a quick update on Northeast 7th. I have a project engineer dedicated to that, and he's working every day on the project. We're going through the design of that. We're about 30% design level right now. We've had to really reduce the footprint of the project due to various factors, including wanting to avoid a right-of-way acquisition phase that could take a year. There's new permitting requirements that could, I'm being told, put the project into a permitting cycle that would take 4 to 5 years. So we're doing everything we can to avoid that. Just and to answer Hal Hovey's concerns, we are working on it. It's a bit behind the scenes right now, but we do fully intend to get that thing built in the next couple of years. So just if we could be a little more understanding of the work behind the scenes right now, I think that would be helpful. So it is a priority here in engineering. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Al, for your comments. And I just wanted to echo what Councilmember Hoffmeyer said. In fact, Mr. Osborne and I had a meeting involving this subject yesterday, and I think Mr. Osborne is absolutely correct in that he has received very clear direction, at least from several of us, as far as the priority and the importance of this safety enhancement. It is a safety issue for our community and has been for way, way too long. And so that's the feelings on my part. Thanks for taking the time, Hal. Appreciate it.
Councilor Stuckey.
I also agree. I'm going to add a little more context just so I don't say I just agree. Because I had the same sentiment that you had about the bandwidth of staff, not just the funding. I think I brought that up with our city engineer last time I saw him. To me, 7th Avenue and West Whidbey are definitely up there. And I understand, true, behind the scenes, what would it take to give more frequent updates? I mean, words are just words. People need to know what's going on. What would it take to give more frequent updates? We're great about updating things that are tangible, taking a photo of things once it's done. But what can we do to let the public know where we are in the process in a little more consistent fashion?
Well, we have the monthly city administrators report, and certainly the public works director and the city engineer can make a point to provide an update on that monthly. We're spending $500,000 in engineering on design right now, so there's a lot going on in that. And then we have to go through a acquisition phase, and then we'll go into a construction phase. So acquisition of right-of-way is not the easiest thing, and so that's why, and it's a number of property owners, so there's some areas. Hopefully we'll be able to go through that in the time scheduled. I think certainly we'll make every effort. The engineering's progressing, and so with the design, I think it's been on the council agenda a number of times with input of that, and it'll be on the agenda again, trying to stay within budget and on time. So I think with our new engineer, he's an engineer, but our new public works director is kind of doing his evaluation of all the projects, and we'll take a new fresh look at that and be updating you on that very soon on moving forward and making sure that we keep that on track and within budget.
I would just encourage that. That's great to update us in the meetings, but I'm more concerned about updating the public. And as you know, our meetings aren't highly seen by the public. If there's anything we could do on a website or on social media or something, even if it's not a whole lot of updates, just letting people know this is on our mind publicly and this is kind of where we are, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, we can also add it to the mayor's comments, and we make that as a really visible point, so we can certainly up the visibility. I think staff's listening to this right now and certainly will follow. But like a bandwidth, we have a lot of things going on for publicity. We just added more comments at the end of the meeting to get people to give quickly and get an update on what we do. So we added that. We've got a campaign for the fire, and then we have a campaign for the input on Windjammer. So we've got a lot, and there's a lot of other ones I'm not even thinking of, that campaigns that we have going on with getting input. So, there's a lot there, and I am concerned with bandwidth and appreciate that comment there. And so I'm going to urge you to do this program here, but there's probably going to be some trimming in staff's capability because the current project probably a little too ambitious, I'll be honest with you, on that. And we'll certainly listen to council priority, and certainly won't cut back some of the issues, some of the programs that were a priority. I think another one was the Portland News, and we've heard that. So, I mean, that'll be a priority, but there may be some of the other projects. And then you have an item on later on the agenda on getting extra resources to, extra engineering resources to address some of the concerns with water. And that's I believe it's later on in an item on, I think, I can't remember which one it is on the top of my head while I'm speaking, but it is later on the agenda, and I'm sure the Public Works Director is ready to speak to that and getting resources and trying to increase bandwidth so we can do all these projects that we have targeted.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor and I were actually on council when there was a design done. Is there anything from the design of 7th Street Avenue that we could still use? When they did it, they knew they didn't have enough money to complete the project, but a design was done. And I don't know if it was 08 to 12 or if it was after 12, but there was a design done that we paid for, and then staff said, hey, we're short money. And I think the mayor would remember that. But there are many people who live in those apartments that walk with their kids or pushing their strollers, and there is no sidewalk there. They use that. It's a busy outway, and it's a very crowded area with apartments back there. And those people need something safe where to walk. But there was a design that was paid for by council sometime after 08, and I believe before 12. Mr. Omberg was the one, and he asked when they were doing the design, how long would that design last on the shelf to come up with the money? And we thought that it was going to be done. So it is disappointing. But there is a design. Is there something in there that would save us time and money from completely redoing it now? I know there may not be, but we paid for something and it's just been shelved somewhere. So at least look at it.
I actually can speak to that a little bit. Mr. Monken, who was our interim Public Works Administrator, updated that design and showed it to this, not this council, but the previous council. It showed a couple of different opportunities to update that design. So our staff is working with that. So it's certainly not, it's certainly not something that's been just shelved.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anyone else comments for this particular updated comprehensive plan and capital improvement plan amendment, ordinance 1946? So the recommended action is to adopt it, and that would include adopt the 2021 comprehensive plan amendment that includes the 6-year capital improvement plan. That's a recommended action. So, Mayor Pro Tem.
If there are no other questions, I'll make the motion. Wait a minute, let me get the right page. Move to adopt the 2021 comprehensive plan amendments that includes this 6-year capital improvement plan.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second that reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. Any other questions or input? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. And I can't see, okay.
Tara's got her hand up.
Okay, Tara's got her hand up. Councilor Heisen, thank you. So that passes unanimously, I believe. Okay, thank you, Council. Then we'll move to the item 6B, which is ordinance 1944, amendment number 6 to the 2021-2022 biennial budget, continued from March 15, 2022. And for this evening, we have our Finance Director, Mr. David Goldman. Mr. Goldman?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. David Goldman, Finance Director. So the purpose of this budget amendment is to account for the new funding needed for 2022 as a result of the approval of the amendments to the 2022-27 capital improvement plan that was accomplished with the previous agenda item. The capital improvement plan programs funding through the 2022 study period. Since the biennial budget is appropriated in 2-year increments, this amendment is for the 2022 amount of the projects, amount that's needed for the projects that were approved in the last item. So there's a little bit of a summary. There's more detail contained in your backup. But the first item is an addition of $55,000 of parks impact fees for the Harbor Heights project. There's also an addition of about $180,000 of streets funds for the annual streets improvement project. Also an addition of $220,000 of REIT 1 funds for engineering design work for the Harbor Heights Access Roads project. We have $250,000 of water utility funds for the engineering design and construction of the new Marin Woods Waterline Upsize project. We have $150,000 of Marina funds for the pre-design study portion of the pre-design study and dredging project. As you'll recall, at the last meeting on May 3rd, the City Council approved $150,000 of ARPA funds for that project to bring the total amount for the study to $300,000 pending adoption of this amendment. There's also an addition of $150,000 of insurance proceeds and $45,000 of Marina funds, the insurance deductible, for the FDOT storm damage and repair project. There's also an addition of $65,000 of private insurance proceeds to replace some piles that were damaged due to an accident caused by a private boat operator. And finally, we have $200,000 of prospective federal government assistance for the sewer line replacements projects, which Blaine and Steve Schuler will go over a little bit later in this meeting. So I have a recommended motion up on the screen, and staff is available to field any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. So at this point, I'd like to open a public hearing regarding this and confirm that with our city clerk that we've received no comments from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. We've received no public comment on this item.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have anybody left here in our our audience. I don't believe we have anybody that wishes to speak. I'm sorry? Yeah. So I'll close the public hearing at this time and turn to the council for questions, comments, or discussion. Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Piggybacking off of what Mr. Hovitt just said, when you get into, funding sources, there are different funding sources, but ultimately bandwidth as well. I mean, I'll be honest, the money for the Harbor Heights Access Road in here, I do not like it. And, I don't want to continue beating that project up, but I realistically feel like we're probably at a pause out there. So anyway, that's where I'm at on that one little part.
Turn to Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would agree. I think if we continue to have staff moving forward on that while we're still kind of in the process of regathering our thoughts regarding funding sources, and ultimately the use of that park. I don't know until we understand the funding sources, until we understand what it's going to take to build that park. We all know it's an opportunity. We all know having the ownership of 75 contiguous acres inside the city limits of Oak Harbor and protecting that contiguous large parcel for the use of the public is something that we're going to look back years from now and go, wow, I'm so glad we did that. That large of a parcel, just to have it go and become who knows what, would have been some sort of commercial, possibly an industrial park or something. And, of course, we have quite a bit of industrial property on Goldie Road that we would like to infill. So in the end, there's no doubt that this is going to become a great asset for the community, but I don't know that any of us I don't know that there's anybody out there that really has a clear idea in their mind as to really where we're going to settle in on this park. There's conversation about hiking trails and biking trails and frisbee golf and, all sorts of potential uses for that park, as well as the soccer fields we've talked about and the ball fields, and which we're finding out is maybe a little more out of reach than we're going to be able to attain anytime soon. So I agree, bandwidth. Let's face it, we've got, like Mr. Oberon said, we've got staff heading many different directions, and part of the job that we have as a council is to provide clear guidance on those things that we think are priorities for our community. We still have a lot of work to do at Windjammer Park too, and I know that's been a subject when we talk about taking on a new park. So I think item number 3 needs to go on hold until we all have a better grasp. I would just hate to have staff spending their valuable time. I know they're just all underwater, especially our engineering staff, and I would hate to see them spending their valuable time on something because we're just thinking that maybe we might end up that direction. I don't know that we have a clear grasp on this yet. So that's my thought. The rest of the items, I totally understand and on board with, but item number 3, I think we should withdraw from the action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wiesner. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. My mind is, travel does that to you. When we accepted a grant to help buy the land for this park, there was a stipulation that that's where the 2 soccer fields came in and the 50 parking places. Are we in jeopardy of having to give some of that money back because we're not accomplishing that, Mr. Oberon?
Can I clarify your comment there?
Sure.
We were originally going to use part of the YAF, the Youth Athletic Field grant for the purchase. We used none of that. And then also, previously, we brought back the option to withdraw the 2018 $350,000 grant, and we moved ahead with filing for it in 2022, along with the $500,000 grant, a $2 million grant, I believe. I'm going off the top of my head, so don't
That's
quote me
right,
on
you
that.
bundled it,
Quote-
and
quote-
that was a better
And then we're
option.
looking for additional $1.2 million, I believe, in funding to add up. And then I think there's about 1.3 that we've already slated to, and we're trying to keep the original commitment the same, even though the cost has gone up from 1.7 million to 5.1. So we're moving ahead on that. We've already met the May 3rd deadline for applying for the 3 RCO grants, and we're looking for other grant funding opportunities for that project here. And then we do also already have an application with the Rural County Economic Development for funding up to $2.5 million, I believe, or the full amount. I can't remember the full amount, so somewhere between 2 and 3 million, let's just say it that way, so I can be accurate there. So that grant is already pending. We've met with the staff there, and it's already been discussed in workshop at the county level. But if council's majority wants to pull that project from the capital plan, then we'll also pull the grant, because I think if we don't have it in our capital plan, then we're not going to turn around and pursue the grant opportunity there. But that was trying to address the access road for it, because the $5.3 million cost, or 5.1, somewhere around that level, that's just purely the construction of the 2 fields and the 50 parking spaces. We still have the issue of how do we get to that road, and so council made it very clear not to go in on the cheapest route, which was Elwha, and that was what the envision was in the original application. And so then it went from Gun Club Road, and now it's from 16th Avenue. So we're just trying to do our best to pursue and keep that as a project, and also do the Windjammer scoping and phase 2 improvements at the same time, which is really a kind of a wide bandwidth, to be honest with you.
So
No, I understand. So
yeah,
I
go ahead.
remember the bundling. That is really good. The other thing is, has anyone heard from the school district on when they're going to redo their bond, but where our football and soccer fields and stuff are down below, it's all going to be a school. And when we lose that, where are the kids going to play? We don't have enough fields. And that was the purpose of trying to get this park going with at least some fields, because there's not enough fields right now. I mean, when the kids don't have something to do or something organized, then they tend to get into trouble.
So, yeah, I don't even have the answer to the school's decision, and I'm not sure the school board does yet either. So they're certainly trying to decide how to proceed the last time I talked with them.
And I understand that, but you also have to look at that. If they rip this out where those kids are all playing now, where are they going to go? And I just can't see stopping the park completely. If we don't get the grant to help with that road, then that would be a big, but if we get that, and then we've already pulled the project, our kids don't have enough places to go now, and it's important. That is our future, is our kids, to have good, clean activities and stuff. And yes, we're stretched, but we were able to get the money to, through staff's effort and stuff, to get that park, to get that land, to be for us. And I hope it's not 20, it may be 30 years before it's all done, but, the school can come back in a year or 6 months, and when they decide to build a school, they're going to build it, and we are done. And if we don't have something else going, I just hate to pull it at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So,
Mr. Mayor, may I just clarify something about the budget amendment?
sure.
So this budget amendment is really just to move the budget to conform with what was just approved. So what was just approved does include that park. All this is doing is kind of truing it up to match what was in the previous item that was approved. So if we do change this budget amendment to remove something, we might want to think about going back and maybe removing that portion from the previous item. But in a more general sense, all the budget amendment's doing is really just moving funds on the project, and a future action by council as we go through the budget process coming up, and we're going to go through this process again with the capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. I guess it'll be 23 through 28. The council at that time during that process can then decide to take this money off and put it towards another project or put it back in the pot during that process. So there's multiple options. And also, if the council directs staff not to move forward, not to expend resources or capacity on doing any kind of engineering studies for this project, the money will just sit there, and we'll focus on other types of projects that we're, per the direction of the council.
Okay, so it's, I think what you're saying is we're not spending the money, we're not even at this point telling staff to move forward. We're just getting ourselves in position to meet the capital improvement plan that we just approved.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's up to the council during the next budget process and during other input and direction that'll provide staff, what we should focus our resources on as far as capital projects.
Okay, so Councilor Stuckey.
Couple of questions. I know one's been addressed at a prior meeting. Can someone remind me, we had a couple meetings ago, we had the option to get a more accurate quote at 60% design or 90%. When will we get that 90%?
July.
July. Okay, so pretty soon. For our city engineer, and we talked about this, but just it might help some other people here. Let's say we had that plan, 100%, funding's ready to go. How long would it take to get the parking lot there, to get the soccer fields? How far out are we looking for just the basic soccer fields and stuff that we've been looking at?
Well, right now, we pushed it back 2 years when we gave back the 2018 YAF funding, and we're seeking additional funding. So it's really contingent upon us getting grant funding. And we can do the design right now, and we can include the design costs. Some of the 2021 design costs we'll try to include that in the $350,000 grant we already received. And then we'll continue with the design. Construction will probably be in 2024. And Alex, you can certainly make sure I answered correctly on the issue of the 90% design and also elaborate on this.
Let me just rephrase that real quickly. Let's assume we had the money. Money's not an object. We said go. How long does it take to get the road, to get the soccer fields, to move the dirt? I was under the impression in talking to our city engineer, we were talking late summer if we had everything. We don't, but hypothetically.
Well, it's going to be 90% design. Alex, is it in July?
That's correct, Blaine. We're expecting the 90% design and cost estimate in early July. And then to answer Councilmember Stuckey's question, I would say if, putting money aside for a minute, we could be what we call shovel ready, I would say by late fall, early winter of this year. We still do need to apply for permits and determine where the access is coming from. So at this point, I think the access road and where that's going to come from is what's determining the schedule here. It's not the actual design and construction of the park facility itself.
Okay. And then, thank you. Last question for our finance director. So you've said this. I just want to make sure we're crystal clear here. We're basically earmarking money for this project. The idea is you leave it in the capital improvement plan so that you can apply for grants. And if we get that 90% in July, you're like, whoa, this is $20 million, just making it extreme to make a point. At that point, there's nothing that we're losing by taking that money that's earmarked for that and saying, you know what, we're not going to do this project, we're going to move that money somewhere else. Is that correct?
Yeah, if the money's not spent, we can move that money off the project back into the pot or back to another project. It's all part of the process.
Okay, thank you.
Back to Councilor Weiser. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say Councilmember Heisen has her hand raised, Mayor.
Let's go to Councilor Heisen.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to make a motion if everyone's had a chance to speak.
Did you? Yeah, we have one more question here. Thank you, Councilor Heisen. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Osborne, can you explain to me why, if we remove the earmark on that the $220,000 for the road, why removing that earmark would nix the entire grant process? I mean, this is one of three access options you're talking about designing. I mean, if this road wasn't built off of Heller Road, that doesn't necessarily mean this park is dead. So why, by not earmarking the money for designing a road off of Heller Road in our capital improvement project, why would that cause us to retract a $2 million grant and just stop everything dead?
Well, I want to make sure there's multiple layers here and make sure we understand it. As far as the grants we're doing with RCO that we're trying to deal with the cost going from 1.7 to around $5.1 million, that's proceeding regardless of what access road we go through. So that's going forward. Now, it's nice to know what, like our city engineer mentioned, it would be good to know what road we're going to go through. Council did vote on proceeding with a grant proposal, asking the county for a grant proposal and we have that going to Rural County Economic Development Grant to try to get funding. We'll try to, if that's not enough funding, we'll try to get other funding sources and figure on getting the road through, and that'll help. But I mean, you still have on the table the three options of Elwha, Gun Club, or a new road that we're talking about. We're trying to address the number one priority as the access as the 16th Avenue, and that's the direction we've got from the majority of the council.
I mean, I just want to make sure I understand this. This is $220,000 where I understand we're just talking about earmarking it, but we're talking about setting it aside so that if none of it gets spent in the meantime, that we could, possibly transfer it back in. But I mean, this is the money for engineering that could be handled through a budget amendment. If we were approved for the grant in order to build the road, we obviously then would have the decision of accepting the grant, if that was the case. And if we accepted the grant, obviously we realized we would have to pay for engineering, and we could do a budget amendment at that time. So I'm just curious why removing the earmark from this budget amendment would stop the grant process and everything on the other side.
I assumed I was kind of thinking them two together, but if you gave us direction to continue with the grant, we certainly can do that. I was just maybe assuming incorrectly then.
Yeah,
I apologize.
because I'm not mistaken,
I was trying to figure out, and we already have some hesitation from the county commission because there has been some opposition from some of the council members.
But I
of that
understand we've
road.
already submitted the grant, we've already done the
Yes.
paperwork, we've already done the legwork. It's now in the hands of the county commission. Are you afraid that if we don't have this item earmarked, the commissioner is going to see that as us not being committed to the project? Is that what your concern is? Again, I'm just trying to understand.
That could be one of them, and I was just trying to correlate it together. When you said there was issues with the road, I assumed that there was correlation with that with the grant request. So that would be a simple kind of correlation. So I was correlating, but certainly council gives us direction and we'll move in that direction. So, and continue with that. I would just want, if you were to pull that item out, I'd want clarification to continue with the grant so that we know that council's not seeing them as compatible with each other.
Okay, understood. And Mr. Goldman, I mean, we do budget amendments throughout the year. I guess I just want to understand the idea behind this one. Again, you're just requesting this budget amendment to earmark this money because it coincides with that grant request that we've got, and you just want to make sure that we have this money earmarked in the biennial budget because we.
My comment before wasn't dealing with the grant. It was that the previous item has a lot of stuff in it, and one of the things in that previous item was for this project in the year 2022, there's $220,000 of this funding in the previous item, and all this budget amendment's doing is conforming the budget to the previous item. That's all it's doing. I mean, it was kind of like more like a true-up kind of bookkeeping thing, really. That's primarily the purpose of this budget amendment. It's more of a bookkeeping thing than anything else.
And I guess one final follow-up with Mr. Osborne, I guess. So let's say we approve this earmark. None of it's going to be, no staff time is going to be spent associated with this earmark. There's not going to be any use of bandwidth with this earmark. That money is absolutely going to sit there. Staff is not going to do absolutely anything in designing, even though we have it included in our budget. Not one penny is going to be spent, or not one time is going to be, any time is going to be spent preparing for the expense of that money? Or are we giving a kind of another one of these false starts to staff?
Well, time's going to be spent on doing the grant application that we're doing right now.
Well, which it hasn't already been completed.
And then if we get the grant, we have to figure out how much it is, and then we have to come to council to evaluate where we go for it, look for other grant opportunities and tweak it. And then also anything on that magnitude of engineering, that takes I mean, certainly that's outsourced there, and a contract over $30,000 has to come to council, so.
So by moving this item forward, we would be instructing staff to continue processes, utilizing staff time and resources and again, isn't the grant application already submitted?
Yes, it's already submitted.
We're through that. So, but other staff time and resources, this would be a instruction to staff to continue forward with this project? Is that?
We try to do our best to match the year we spend money with our budget. And so that was why staff put it in there with what they're doing. So it's just kind of a forecast is what we're doing. And we're assuming that best-case scenario here that we get the grant funding, and it correlates here. And our city engineer, Alex, do you have, or our Public Works Director, I want to make sure you concur or have any additional comments related to the questions.
I can speak a little bit on the grant application. We just had a meeting this last week with a representative from Island County regarding the RSED grant, and it sounded like they want us to come in for a presentation. So there is some work we need to do to prepare to present on that grant application.
Okay, thank you. I'll yield to the rest of council.
Councilor Evans.
You know, we've had a lot of conversations about the access roads to this park. I remember a couple months ago, we voted as a council to move forward with these grants and identify this road, 16th Avenue, as the access road to get moving forward on these grants to see if we would be approved for them. One comment that the administrator or our finance director made was that if we do keep this in, we can also make instruction to not have any action on it without additional consulting with the council. The park is going to be something that we need, obviously. Right now, the price is a little out of whack, and we're trying to figure that out. But I don't think that this is going to cause a problem by moving forward with it with some additional instruction, which would appease the other council members. So just my thoughts, and thank you.
Councilor Hoffmeyer.
My biggest reason for pointing to this was I was told by more than one county commissioner on May 4th that they had decided not to fund this. So that's where I'm a little confused. The other thing is, you know, when we were looking at Northeast 7th, we were told that we had shrunk the footprint, and the reason for shrinking the footprint was it would take 4+ years to obtain right-of-way. So I think Mayor Pro Tem Munns is right. You know, if this is a project that needs to move quick, we can access the property off of Elwha in 0 days for $0. I'm not trying to fight or argue with staff on this. I'm trying to say that staff was right last fall when they said that Elwha was the only option. There's city utilities there. There's water, power, sewer. The road goes to the edge of the property. So if we don't want this to take 7 years to never, there's one option. So the biggest reason I pointed to this was I was told on May 4th that the county had said no. So I don't know if I was told that prematurely, so a little confused there. But biggest reason for pointing to it was I don't want this to turn into a multiple-year process when we already have a good road, and staff's recommendation last fall was spot on.
Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand the comments around Harbor Heights, but we just take Harbor Heights out of the equation, the bigger picture of this is this was already identified in the 2016 Comprehensive Transportation Plan as another arterial road. We only have, we only have one, and that's Woodby Avenue. So this would provide us another road. I mean, I don't think we're talking an exorbitant amount of money here, and to keep moving something forward that's been in the comp plan for quite a while. Harbor Heights aside, it's still a road that we need as a community, and we will need access to that park at some point. So I'm still in favor. And as Mr. Goldman mentioned, this is just a follow-up to what we've already done. If we wanted to have this discussion, I think we should have taken it out of the previous motion rather than the current motion, or the current item. Thank you.
So it sounds like we could be back to Councilor Heisen at this point for a motion. Councilor Heisen?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 1944, budget amendment number 6, amending the 21-22 biennial budget and adopting an updated wage and salary schedule and plan of classification.
Second.
So you have a motion and a second that reads exactly like the recommended action before you, so I won't read it again. That motion was made by Councilor Heisen, second by Mayor Pro Tem Munns. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it says 6, yep.
Okay, and all those opposed, same sign?
Nay.
Okay, so we have, that passes 6-1.
And I'd like to just follow up and make sure we're kind of all in agreement that we're telling staff not to go spend a lot of this money and full speed ahead until we find out the status of the grant.
Correct, we understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, council. We will now go to item number 6C, which is Ordinance 1949, Zoning Code Text Amendment, Site-Specific Rezone. And this evening, we have our Development Services Director, Mr. David Cool. Mr. Cool?
Cool, Development Services Director. Tonight, we have a fairly straightforward item, which is a zoning text amendment. So zoning text amendments, site-specific rezone is the topic tonight. Site-specific rezone, as we covered in the workshop, is an individual site that covers rezoning, and it's not an area-wide change that you typically would find associated with a comprehensive plan amendment. Something like a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone might cover coming downtown or some other bigger parcel and doing more of a legislative type of action that would go to the Planning Commission. This is just one particular site for rezoning. This proposal will amend 3 different sections of Section 18 and 1 section of Section 19. It's going from a Type 4 to a Type 5 process, and it's a simple update. I think back when the city went to a hearing examiner process back in 2019. This is just one process that got left out. So this is here just to clean that section up. So Type 4 processes, those are going to be included in Type 5, and that's a legislative process. So site-specific rezones, as we talked about last time, those are done by ordinance. And the only hearing body that can approve an ordinance is you, the City Council. Therefore, only the City Council can approve a site-specific rezone. So in this case, in the ordinance, the way we have it set up, it will still go to the hearing examiner, and the hearing examiner will make the findings as well as conditions of approval of law, and then it'll go on to you. And then you'll consider the ordinance and likely approve it, because these will already be decided at the hearing examiner. We did this when I was in Woodinville, and always found it interesting because went through the hearing examiner and you think, well, it's done. But the council needed to approve the actual ordinance that established the rezone. So this is, like I say, a straightforward process, and this is a recommendation we have set up for you. So we're available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Cool. Before we turn to council, I think at this point, I need to open a public hearing and verify that we've received no public comment.
That's correct, Mayor. No
On-
public
on this
comment
item?
was received
Okay.
on this item.
And we have no public here to comment at the podium, so I'll close the public hearing and now turn to City Council. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Cool, I just want to make sure I totally understand this. We had made a decision back in 2019 to take Type 4 decisions out of the council's hands, put them into the hearing examiner's hands, and I'm assuming this is kind of a correction that we didn't catch, the fact that this cannot be a hearing examiner decision. It has to come before council because that's state law.
Correct. That is state law.
And so we're moving this into a Type 5 decision and taking it out of the Type 4 decision, which previously council would have had to approve, but when we made that change, that took that away. Am I correct?
Right.
So this is basically a housekeeping move to...
Pretty much a housekeeping move. We move this forward a little quicker because there's people out there who would like to process rezones, so we wanted to make sure this came before you as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council questions or input? Yes, Councilor Wiesner.
Seeing none, I move to recommend approval of the text amendments regarding site-specific rezones of Carbon Municipal Code, Section 18.20260, 270, 1975, 20, and 1840, 100.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. That motion reads exactly like the recommended action before you. Motion was made by Councilor Wiesner and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing no other questions or input, I'll ask all those in favor to raise their right hand. Okay,
Heisen votes yes.
okay, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Cool. We will now go to our next item, which is item number 7, under ordinances and resolutions. We have number 7A this evening, which is ordinance number 1947, water code revisions. And it looks like for this, we have our engineering technician, John Pollock, to present this. Mr. Pollock?
Mayor, I will be presenting the item tonight.
We have our city engineer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm Alex Warner, city engineer, and similar to what David just presented, this one is should be a bit familiar to you. We presented the details. John Pollock presented the details at the last workshop meeting in April. So what I have for you tonight is simply, just to recap that we brought this to the last workshop meeting. It's ordinance number 1947. It's in your council packet. And in that ordinance, it is updating various standards in our water code that had not been updated since 1975 to current water standards that we have been enforcing. So with that, I would ask that you move to authorize the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warner, for that. And now I'll confirm with our city clerk that we've received no comment on this item. Turn to council for questions or comments or discussion. Not seeing, but Mayor Pro Tem?
Not a question, but I don't think there's any comments. This is housekeeping, so I'll make the motion. I move to adopt ordinance number 1947, amending OHMC section 13.28.040 and adopting chapter 13.29.
Second.
So we've got a motion second, reads exactly like the suggested motion before you. That motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Munn, second by Councilor Hoffmeyer. Seeing no other questions or input, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Mayor, that passes unanimously.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, Clerk Julie, for your help. We'll go to item number B, 7B, Resolution 22-16, Washington State Archives grant submission. Mr. Osborne, our city administrator, will present this.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Blaine Osborne, Oak Harbor City Administrator, and I appreciate the energy and support from other staff. Our new Public Records Officer, Elena Lake, has been very involved in this, and our interim city attorney, Hillary Evans, has really brought a lot of energy into looking at how we can prove our open records, our public records. And one of the things you do learn with public records, if we can go to the next slide here, is that the less records you have, the easier it is to produce, and sometimes we keep too many records. So there's various grants through the Department of Archives to help you to address public record issues, and we vetted all 3 of them and came to the conclusion that the best one to fit our criteria here was to pursue this grant request. And so if the council approves this tonight, we'll go ahead and complete the application period here. So one of the things it does allow is increasing staff and paying for that with staff, and we have with the grant, and we have a part-time staff that could increase their hours to take on extra responsibilities. We're getting this request for grant support and working on our filing system. So, and also there's some costs in there for shredding services, and the total grant is $16,000. And then of course, if we do not get the grant, then we won't pursue the extra hours or the extra costs there associated with that. So it's pretty simple, cut forward. So hopefully you'll go ahead and we recommend you go ahead and approve this grant, and hopefully we're successful in getting it and being able to do this extra effort in increasing our ability regarding public records.
Okay, before we turn to council, I'll confirm that we've received no input from the public.
That's correct, Mayor. No input.
Kind of like a broken record there. Sorry, clerk, but I feel like I should ask. So turn to council. Any questions, input, motions? Yes, Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 2216, authorizing the mayor to approve an application for an organized the file room grant from the Washington State Archives.
Second.
Well, we got a motion in 2 seconds this time. The motion is from Councilor Marshall. I'm going to give the second to Councilor Stuckey. No offense, Mayor Pro Tem, but yeah. So that motion, it reads exactly like the recommended action in your packet there and what was before you. So all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That
Mayor, that passes unanimously.
passes unanimously. Great. Okay. Thank you, Council. We're on a roll here. We're going to item number 8A at this time, contract and agreement. Professional Services Agreement, Amendment Number 5, Moffatt Nichol for Marine Boat Ramp Dock Emergency Repair. And we have Brett Arvidsson, our project manager, and I believe probably Harbor Master Chris Sublett maybe on the video. But Brett, we're going to turn to you.
Good evening, Council. I'm Brett Arvidsson. I'm a project manager for the city. We're here to talk about our FDOC breakwater and float repairs. It's actually contract amendment number 5 with Moffatt Nichol. I'm going to try to, excuse me, we lost, Tim, this is not going backwards. There we go, which one? There we go. This has got a lot of history to it. I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, but I want to cover a little bit. Our Marina experienced damage to FDOC in February of 2020 and January of 2021 during windstorms. Third windstorm in November of 2021 further damaged FDOC. Repair of the damages is all separate insurance claims. The city also had a Department of Commerce grant for improvements to the marina, and funds were budgeted, so we combined these two things because they were similar projects. We also added a new navigation pile when one was damaged after a boat collision. This is the FDOC dam. This is the first damage after the first storm. It looks pretty mild, but it's actually pretty well tore up inside. These are the grant monies we replaced pile hoops with. And this is the damage, that's actually the same panel that I was showing earlier that was damaged, what it looked like after the November storm. And that's the storm itself that we got some pictures of. Go back to our project and sequence. Moffatt Nichol's been working with this since we started. They prepared the contract and permit packages for this. We were doing in-water work, so that took quite a bit of extensive permitting. We did open the job and put out for bids and awarded construction to American Construction last summer. The damaged navigation pile occurred last fall, so it was added as a separate insurance claim. And we actually finished construction last February. We built it during the in-water window. We attempted to negotiate a change order for the November storm. We did get it designed, but due to insurance company cost concerns and basically it required us to work past the in-water window, we had to pass that one by. So we still have some work left to do out there on that. Here's just some pictures of during the construction. That's us replacing a pile hoop, and that's the crane we had out there. Unfortunately, last April 4th, this said April 18th, but it's actually April 4th, we had a large sailboat tied up to the dock at the boat ramp. We had some high winds come along, and the weight of the boat pulled the supporting piles over. We were able to pull the damaged dock from the water. We had to get out of the water because we were afraid that it would break loose and cause more damage. The repair required a new pile system, repair of the damaged dock sections, and refloating the dock. We are also, it is in-water work, but we're trying to obtain an emergency permit for this, so they'll allow us to do this prior to the June-July crabbing season. That dock gets really busy in the summertime, and so it would really help to have that available. And this, of course, is another insurance claim. Here's a picture of the damage, the piles turned over in the dock itself. So anyway, we have been working with Moffatt Nichol, so this amendment number 5 covers the emergency repair to the boat ramp dock, includes the design and permitting of the dock pile and floats. The cost of this amendment is $23,752. And we're hoping to do is we still have an open contract with American Construction, so we possibly could arrange a change order so we could meet the July crabbing season. So anyway, our recommendation is to move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign contract amendment number 5 with Moffatt Nichol in the amount of $23,752, bringing the total contract amount to $171,931. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Arvidsson. At this point, I'd like to turn to City Clerk and make sure we've gotten no input from the public. Is that correct?
That's correct,
On this
Mayor.
item?
No input on this item.
Okay, turn back to Council. Councilor Hoffmeyer?
Try to word this one appropriately. The repetitive insurance claims. What are the potential implications from that? What's the insurance company think of that? How many more claims can we make, et cetera, without saying anything we shouldn't, I suppose?
I can't speak for the insurance company. They have expressed some dismay about this, and at this point, I can't really say, they expressed dismay after the first one, and we're 4 later. But again, it's a matter of, getting our dock fixed at this point. Long-term, we do need to probably take a look at that structure out there and see if we can get it reinforced a little better. Our breakwater is somewhat unique. Most places have more structural breakwater. When they built that breakwater, or one of the two in the Puget Sound, it's actually, the dock is the breakwater. So it's kind of unique, and the older sections actually have lasted a lot better. It's a newer section, so we've taken the damage and they were built to a different standard. So again, that's the long-term viability of Marina and our insurance coverage out there. We have to have discussions with them. Right now, we're dealing with insurance claims that are in process, and I don't really want to talk about adjudication. We have issues with the boat owner too. So,
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Osborne.
I can add a little further clarification and answer the question on the insurance working more closely as the city's delegate for WCIA. Luckily, we're in a pool and they're pretty forgiving. We probably would be canceled if we had a commercial with all the claims we have. They did ask us to do put some money in for repairs, and so we did have $400,000 in a 2018 grant earmarked from the legislature, and we quickly put that in and engulfed that in part of the project. And so I went back and assured them that we did put some construction money in that. We're hoping that this latest claim is going to be with another insured and not have to be under hopefully most of it will be under the insurance of the individual that had a boat during that storm, and other people we can hold accountable as much as possible to reduce exposure to our own company. But we have to file the claim just in case it doesn't go that route. But I think that's the strategy and I think our insurance company is going to do that strategy too, is to try hold other insurance agents and people accountable to mitigate the risk of this particular latest incident on the city.
And some of the subsequent damage was the fact that we were already damaged earlier, so there is a little cascading effect that if we'd been back fully pieces, the next two storms came before we actually got them fixed again, so things got a little worse, but it's certainly an open question.
Well, thank you. That helps with my questions quite a bit. I mean, I think all of us up here support the marina in some manner, and the appearance to the public would be that we're remodeling our marina at the insurance company's cost, and I mean, to hear
No.
go a little more in depth. I mean, that's obviously not where it's at, but I think once the breakwater was damaged, the cascading effect makes all the sense.
Councilor Evans.
Just a comment. I brought pictures at our last council meeting. The marina is in some dire need of upgrades and repairs, and I think it's time we put on our creativity hat and come up with some good ideas how to deal with this. The insurance company will give up on us at some point, and it might be tomorrow with our high winds coming in. So looking at the condition of the frame underneath that dock, we're in for more problems, so we're going to have to start thinking as a council. Thank you.
Any other council input or questions? Okay, so the recommended action, could we go back to that? Councilor Marshall, did you?
I'm moved to authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement, amendment number 5 with Moffatt and Nichol for repair of the boat ramp dock in the amount of $23,752, increasing the contract amount from $148,179 to $171,932.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, and that motion reads pretty much like the recommended action in the packet. Motion was made by Councilor Marshall, second by Councilor Hoffmeyer. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Looks like that passes.
Mayor, that carries unanimously.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Arvidsson. So it looks like you're still at the podium there for item number 8B, Professional Services Agreement Contract Amendment with American Construction for Marina Boat Ramp Dock Emergency Repair.
Okay.
Mr. Arvidsson.
I'm not going to introduce myself. This ties into our previous agenda item, excuse me. We did experience damage to FDOC in previous storms. We have repaired some of that through a contract with American Construction Company. Another wind event, April 4th, damaged the boat ramp dock, and a repair of our recent damage is an additional insurance claim. This construction contract has not been closed, so it is still available to opt to do a change order with the contractor. So if we can get drawings in, the contractor is not busy right now, so their busy season starts in July, but they'd be willing to give us a cost proposal to do that. So what we want to do here is get the drawings together and try to repair the dock by crabbing season. So this is another picture of the dock damage and the pile. You can see how this one shows a little bit more how the dock itself is kind of bashed up and those piles are gone. This is the dock sections we took out. It's actually 11 sections, 20-foot sections that we had to pull apart and pull out. And this is a pile that actually broke. It's not driven into the ground like you normally see. It's actually bolted to the ramp out there. That ramp's an old seaplane ramp, and it's pretty stout. So anyway, our emergency action would be for Moffatt Nichol to prepare contract documents to implement a change order. We've actually got that started. At that point, we will attempt to negotiate a change order with American Construction for those repairs. It'd most likely be a time and material, what we call a force account basis, but they're willing to talk through that. What we'd like to do is get pre-authorization because we have a short time frame. So once we get it negotiated and ready to go, that we want to be ready to move ahead. So our process to get it back to council would be a couple of weeks. Right now, we can't say what the cost is. My guess is 150 to 200,000, but that's our prices right now are real crazy, and so we just don't have an idea until we get somebody actually looking at it. We assume that all costs will be reimbursed by the insurance company, less any deductibles. The insurance company does have the ability to slow down their pace or just ask us to get bids, so they may say no, they may bulk at the cost like they did earlier, but it's worth a try. So at this point, we just like to move ahead with having the ability to, if we can get things worked out with the construction company, with the insurance company, to implement it by July. So we're recommending that the City Council move to authorize the mayor to sign any contract amendments and/or change orders necessary to implement emergency repairs from the April 4th, 2022 wind event, to the extent these actions are reimbursable by the insurance claim. Questions?
Okay, before we do this or talk about this at council, I'd like to confirm, got no input from the public.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, hearing that, then I'll turn to council. Councilor Evans.
Just curiosity, what is our deductible?
$50,000.
Per claim?
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Arvidsson, but because this was caused by a private owner, I mean, he was trying to get his boat pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
He tied it up, I think, the night before, and the wind came up, and of course, they're asleep. And so why would we have to pay the deductible?
That's potential on there. Our deductible is $50,000 and maybe less than that. At this point, I don't want to go into details on the subrogation of it.
Hopefully it'll be covered by the person that unfortunately caused the damage.
Hopefully it will be, but at this point, I can't comment to that.
But we do have a lot of boats that crab.
Yeah, it gets very active out there in July. I can attest to that. And obviously, this is something that the council will be relying on me if they choose to do this. And the only way I can do this is to make sure we've got this third-party insurance.
Yeah.
Ready, willing, and able to.
Yeah, that's why I say it has to. That's why we did preface it as being.
I mean, not that I don't mind an open checkbook, but I get a little nervous when that. So, I think Councilor Hoffmeyer, and we'll turn back to you.
I mean, the language that it won't exceed the insurance claim, that I think that makes us all feel comfortable. The $50,000 deductible, oh man, that adds up. Really, this is about two decisions there, though. Get this repaired as quick as we can, or close the ramp, right? Yeah. It's fairly unsafe for people to get in right now. So, as far as safety goes, I mean, I'll support this, but it does add up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're good? Okay, Councilor Wiesner.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to authorize the mayor to sign any contract amendments and/or change orders necessary to implement repairs to the boat ramp dock from the April 4th, 2022 storm, to the extent the actions are reimbursable by a third-party insurance claim.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second that reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. That motion was made by Councilor Wiesner, second by Councilor Stuckey. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor by signify by raising your right hand. Looks like that passes unanimously. Okay?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you very much. We have two items left. I know we're getting kind of long here, but unless somebody needs a break, then we'll just we'll go to item number 8C at this point.
Okay.
Which is Professional Services Agreement, Gray and Osborne On-Call Design Services for Water Projects. And do you have that one too, Brett?
Yeah,
okay. Brett Arvidsson.
I'm on a roll.
Project engineer.
This is for on-call engineering services for our water projects. To give you some background, the City of Oak Harbor has water system capital projects scheduled for the next 5 years. The capital plan contains a variety of projects, but our immediate priorities right now involve pipeline replacements. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. These pipeline replacements must be in place prior to overlay work to avoid digging up new pavement. So we do have some urgency to keep ahead of the TBD stuff. Additionally, the city must lower our 24-inch supply line along SR 20. The state's coming in to do some work up by Campbell Lake, and so part of our contract is we have to lower that. Also, many of these projects have been identified for ARPA funding, which further accelerates the project schedules. We want to start putting them out fast. In order to implement these projects, staff plans to consolidate these projects into larger construction packages. Instead of doing a couple a year, we're going to put out 4 or 5 a year. These larger construction packages accelerate the implementation because we can do them faster and lower the cost with economy of scale. Now, here to talk about our pipeline replacements. About a third of our city is actually AC or steel water line. Let's see if I can give you a picture here. Sorry, it's behind you here. If you look at these orangish brown lines there, that's all AC water line. About a third of our city is that. The red ones are actually some steel line. We have a little less of that, but we still have some substantial amounts. And the chartreuse lines are actually our city limits. This is asbestos cement concrete. It's actually asbestos fibers in a concrete fiber. It was used extensively in the 60s and 70s, and it's not, gone very well for lifespan. So we have a lot of it. It gets very brittle. It breaks very easily. We do have lines that break, so we need to eventually get rid of that. And over the next 20 years, we'll probably replace all of it in some place or another. So anyway, moving forward, we went ahead with the consultant selection process. We intend to use an on-call contract, which allows for us to add projects in the future. So it's sort of an amendment type process. We solicited proposals from over 100 qualified firms through our state process, which is called the MSRC process, and 3 firms submitted proposals. Selection committee evaluated the proposals, and we interviewed all 3 firms. Gray & Osborne Incorporated was selected on the basis of their team firm qualifications, ability to implement projects in a timely fashion, which was a big issue to us, and their knowledge of Oak Harbor. They've done a lot of work for us in the past. Here's to talk something about the projects we have first in the hopper. The one on the top left, number 1, is West Whidbey Avenue, basically from Oak Harbor Boulevard out to the high school, pretty close. That's replaced a bunch of line. Number 6 is the SR 20 thing down by Campbell Lake. 3 and 4 are replacing some water line that we have to do TBD on Southeast 4th and Southwest 4th, and also on Glencoe. And number 3 is on Regatta Road. We have some steel pipe up there that's leaking pretty badly. It runs from Whidbey up to 5th, right there by Olympic View School. So our scope of work is, as this guy here, we did an initial slate of projects. We did have a couple other projects that we decided to hold off till later. They prepared a fee estimate for the work, and the services include survey, design, drawing and specification preparation, permitting assistant, mid-period services, and project management. Talk about our schedule a little bit. The SR 20 Campbell Road project needs to be submitted to WashDOT by August 31st. We're actually going to give our drawings, and they're going to include it into their project, which makes it a lot simpler for us from a permitting and construction point of view. The remaining water line projects we hope to put out for bid this fall, and future projects will be sent to the council on an as-needed basis. We have more projects in the pipeline, but we got a good load going here, so. The fee for these initial projects is $303,200. The work will be performed per our normal consultant basis on a time and materials basis with a not to exceed amount. So our recommendation is to move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with Gray and Osborne Incorporated in the amount of $303,200 for on-call engineering services for water projects. Questions?
Okay, before we take those here at council, verify that we've not gotten any input, okay?
That's
from the
correct,
public
Mayor.
on this item. So I'll turn to council for questions. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Robertson, on Campbell Road, isn't that a joint owned with the Navy, so we would be
The
splitting
Navy
the
would be
cost?
paying a share at that, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think it's a 50% share on them.
Other questions? Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
This is a great thing to see, you know, for the public, you know, driving down West Whidbey Avenue or driving down Southeast 4th Avenue, for instance. You know, sometimes they don't understand, how is this road possibly this horrible? This is the only way to move ahead. Otherwise you blow up a brand new road, right?
Yeah.
So this is incredible to see. I have had so many members of the community reach out, you know, phone calls or, you know, through the city email, et cetera, you know, with regards to the condition of Southeast 4th Avenue. It may even come up more often than West Whidbey does, but an incredibly great thing to see those projects on there, and the Northeast Regatta one as well, obviously. And I had the same question Mayor Pro Tem asked about Campbell Lake, so thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Input? Recommended actions? Yes. Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I see the appropriation sources, water fund and ARPA, but I don't recall seeing this as part of the ARPA fund allocation. So is this, what part?
It's actually, I think it's called water main replacements. So
Okay,
we have
so
steel and AC
it
water.
would come from that
Yeah.
portion
So
of
yeah,
it,
it's
okay.
coming out of that's why I kind of showed you that slide there. That we have a bundle of projects in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That was a good question. Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
I have a motion. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with Gray and Osborne Incorporated for on-call engineering services for water projects in the amount of $303,200.
I'm going to pipe in with a second.
So we've got a motion and a second that reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. The motion is Councilor Hoffmeyer, and that second was Councilor Stuckey, piping in.
AC pipe.
Seeing no other questions or input, please signify your approval by raising your right hand.
That carries unanimously,
Okay,
Mayor.
nobody opposed, that's great. Okay. Okay, that passes unanimously. We are on to our last item of the evening, which is item number 9A, Fiscal Year 2023 Community Project Funding Request, City of Oak Harbor Inflow and Infiltration I&I Correction Program. And tonight we have our Public Works Director, Steve Schuler. Welcome, Mr. Schuler.
Thank you very much. This is my first official presentation to you where you just didn't catch me on the spot. So I'm very excited for tonight. We'll probably be more nervous now that I had time to think about it. So I'll be very brief. Tonight, the city has an opportunity to continue pursuit of a $2 million federal grant. If received, this outside funding will benefit utility ratepayers by lowering their cost, benefit the environment, especially the groundwater and surface water around Oak Harbor, and benefit the operations of our clean water facilities. So this really has multiple benefits to the city. Before I get into the details, I really want to thank Mayor Severns, and I really want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Munns, who was very instrumental in making sure that we had timely connection with U.S. Representative Larson's office and was very helpful in the process. Mr. Osborne and I want to thank Mikhail Finkel, who I got to work with for the first time in this project. You're very blessed to have her on your team. That was an amazing hire. She did all the work, and I'm giving the presentation. Just to be very clear here, okay? So maybe I did a little bit of work, but she did the heavy lifting. And I know she worked with Sabrina Combs on this too. And so again, another amazing person that I got to work with. So a lot of thanks to those two individuals. And then lastly, we really want to thank U.S. Representative Rick Larson and his office. And we want to thank Chris Dingle, who I hope you all get an opportunity to meet. He is the Island County and Military Affairs Liaison for U.S. Representative Rick Larson's office, and was really beneficial with this. So I'm not going to go into the project details in a lot of depth, but I'm here for your questions. You can see that in the packet. I do want to make sure that you're aware that we got letters of interest, and on your dais is a letter from Mayor Pro Tem Beth Munns. We had submitted, this was very quick, we had submitted an initial packet, and then Mayor Pro Tem Munns was very good in providing us with an additional letter, which is very instrumental in moving this along with Representative Larson's office. So thank you for that, and any questions, let me know. If you have any questions then on the trenchless wastewater technology, I'm here to answer those. I put an article in there about federal earmarks. This is kind of a new thing that's getting kicked back in, and so we can talk about that too. And then anything you want to know about our work with Representative Larson's office, I can answer those. And then lastly, I think this is a time even to begin our conversation, now that you're going to be working on the 2023-2024 budget, that we start thinking about if these earmarks continue, and let's assume that they are, we need to start thinking about now what sort of projects do you want to give staff input on that we would work to try to get into the next round, right? And it wouldn't be too early to start thinking about that and building that consensus now. So if you want to kind of have that conversation, I'm ready to have that tonight also. And that is it for my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Schuler. Before we turn to council, I just want to verify we've gotten no input from our public regarding this item.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll move back to council for questions. I'll start with Councilor Evans.
I am so glad to see some focus on this. It is horribly needed for our city. It is a huge issue that we need to address. And thank you guys for bringing it forward. I hope that we get the grant. It's well needed and it will be well used. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Evans. Mayor Pro Tem Munns.
Larson's new Island County man is Chris Dingle, and I hope you have a chance or just reach out to him. I've got his contact. But he contacted me and said, I haven't gotten anything from Oak Harbor. And Rick said to call you. And he said, but I've read from articles about the I&I where you guys had some trouble with a big storm and a lot of rain. And I said, I'll get on it. So they read the paper, they pay attention to things, they'll even look back at some of our meetings, and they try to pick up. So they really want to help, and we just need to reach out, and Steve got the staff going quickly, and so I'm glad too. We've got an ear, let's use it. Let's let them know what our city needs. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And the other staff members. Appreciate it.
And thanks to the staff for I think we threw 3 at them pretty fast. This one stuck on the wall, so it's great to move forward on that. Thanks to staff for doing that. So, yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
I mean, a huge thank you to Mayor Pro Tem for being able to put your years of service behind this. Thank you so much. And to staff, echoing what Councilor Evans said, this is huge. And with the knowledge that Congressman Larson and his office watch these meetings, read the paper, I mean, if there's one thing that could be relayed to their office, there is no other grant out there that is going to positively impact the lives of every single ratepayer in city limits. This could have gargantuan impact, and I really, really hope they're able to pull this off for us. And again, thank you to staff for getting this done so quick, because like was said earlier, they don't give you a lot of a heads up sometimes. So thank you.
Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, thanks to Congressman Larson's office. He's been very astute friend of the city of Oak Harbor. We have some other projects we're working on with him that, have some other big picture ideas going, and he's always been available for those ideas and those discussions, and he always follows through. And yeah, this is going to be one of the easiest approvals of the night, right? Because this is what we've all been working on for quite some time. Not only improving the infrastructure in our city, which is important. I mean, that's what cities do, right? We provide, fire and police and infrastructure. This is one of our main components and main obligations we've made to the citizens of our community, is to properly maintain the assets we've been given, which is that infrastructure. And we haven't always been great about maintaining that as well as we possibly can. We do the best we can, the staff does the best they can with the limited funds, but when we get the funds, this is where it should be going. This is a big part of what we do. And we're working on having an impact on ratepayers. We've transferred almost $3 million from the ARPA funds. Almost half of our ARPA funds is going directly into funds to hopefully have an impact on ratepayers. This could be another $2 million that we could do great things with regarding our infrastructure, as well as have an impact. And I can't agree with Councilmember Hoffmeyer's statement more, that Congressman Larson, if you're watching, this is the single thing that could have the biggest impact upon every ratepayer in our community, and it is important to us. So with that in mind, I'd like to make the motion to authorize the mayor to sign the grant agreement for wastewater inflow and infiltration correction program grant through U.S. Representative Rick Larson.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on this item number 9A. That motion reads exactly like the recommended action in the packet. That motion was made by Councilor Wiesner, seconded by Councilor Evans. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Looks like that passes unanimously. I can't see Councilor Heisen's hand, but I
Yes.
know you can.
Yes, it
Great.
does.
Okay. Then that passes unanimously. Concludes our regular agenda items. Number 10 under reports and discussion. So unless council has any other discussion items they'd like to talk about, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Stuckey.
Second.
Got a motion and second to adjourn. All in favor? Signify by yes. I think that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Someone's allowed here right now.